folks. My name is Gar Whaley. I'm one of the co-founders here of Teal. With me, I have our marketing manager, Brittany Watson. Let's get started. Today, Britt, we're talking about some of our backstage antics with marketing and how we're using AI, specifically Claude, and even more specifically, Claude Design to do some of our marketing work.
Yep.
Want to share your screen and get us started?
Yes, I can.
I
All right.
guess now that you've shared it, it looks awesome. What's the problem that we're trying to solve here? Like, why are we using Claude Design? I guess is a good way to start.
The problem we're trying to solve, and probably a lot of teams are trying to solve, is really just time. And our team, we are 2.5 people. So it's myself, Caden, our copywriter, and we have a part-timer, Haley. So most teams are one marketer, so potentially even less hands and time to do the work. So this is about bringing Claude Design in to streamline the marketing process and save you time and energy.
So, what does Claude Design do at a high level?
At a high level, it can create copy, create design for things like marketing collateral at a high level. So landing pages, social media assets, documents, proposals, anything and everything visual for marketing.
So, a business case might be.
Business case would be it's a great start to um, it's a great start in the design process, but it also can take an idea that you have for marketing. So let's say I would like to do a social media campaign on CMMC and help you flesh out that idea by creating like a campaign overview or a campaign set of assets. So
So,
starting you along the way.
yeah, cool. So, I guess my business case is maybe a little bit different than that, but still valid, I think. Which is before, if I had a PowerPoint or I wanted a one-page document, that I might build the content for myself, I'd have to send it over to you guys to make it look nice. And now I don't have to do that because we have Claude Design and you've built it out, so I can get all the tenants, the basic components of our design, the logo, the color, the font, all that stuff. So that's another reason that another business case that I use it for. But when we start talking about these things, it looks like one of the first things you wanted to show was a social media campaign.
Well, actually, I can back us up a little bit. And you mentioned keeping us on design. So, something that we initially set up in the system very early on was our design system. So, this sits in Claude Design specifically. It works like a skill that you might recognize from regular Claude, but it is just a more extensive skill that you can put a lot of different files and documents and things into. So then whenever someone else comes in and uses your company Claude design portal, they're also using this design system that you've built out. So fully marketing approved design system. And as you can see, it's got things such as your brand, colors, components, spacing. It can show you things like website. You can put in how your headers are supposed to look on your website and yeah, your font, anything and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's the back. That's the
So
backstage,
that,
or
yeah,
I mean,
that's the backstage.
yeah, that's the backstage of Claude Design, and every company should have this set up for themselves with their logos and graphics and fonts
Yeah.
and et cetera.
Yeah, this is
So,
this is the first place I recommend setting things up in here.
all right. So you said you were going to go back. So let's go back. Let's go forward to the first thing you wanted to show us.
Yeah, so one of the things that you can create in here, which I think is really powerful, like I said, is a campaign of assets to get you started on that. So an example of what that prompt would create social media campaign assets for TLCMMC. That's our sub brand. So you would come in, you can select your design system. Like I said, that's one of the first places I recommend doing your settings. You can actually have built out templates. We do have a few of them in here. None of them apply to this.
So,
And
but
then,
just for the folks that are watching,
Yeah.
I think it's important that we just clarify that we're a company called Teal, and we have a main brand, Teal, and we have two sub brands. We'll call them sub brands, Teal CMMC and Teal Co-managed.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So this one in particular, I put in for Teal CMMC. And then what it'll do is you'll put in a prompt just like you would for regular Claude or any AI prompt. And then it will come back with a set of questions depending on what your prompt is. So in this case, it wants to know what social media platform we're sizing these for, how many assets it wants to generate. It normally asks things like your CTA, so your call to action, or any specific other information that's relevant to the campaign. Obviously, I didn't give it very much for this one, so it's pretty bare bones. And then you would go through and answer these and hit continue and let that run. I've actually already let this run, so we don't have to wait on it. And I wanted to show with very minimal instructions what it came up with. So it took our design system and it kind of came up with a carousel, a LinkedIn banner, and a set of social posts. So you can see it pulled in. These are all our branded colors. It pulls in our logo. It actually created all this copy from the AI, but you can give it specific copy to use, and it just kind of created a full carousel. So it gives you a really good starting place. It still needs kind of the human touch to go in and make sure it is Teal branded or truly looks and feels like your brand, and then checking for any imperfections or mistakes, things like that. But yeah,
By that you mean we just need to go in as the human in the loop and make sure that it's actually using the right. We just need to proofread it.
yes, exactly. You don't want to get rid of the human in the loop, but this it gives you a really strong starting place because I think, at least in my experience, sometimes the most difficult part is not only the time it takes to create all these assets, but just the starting and figuring out where and what to do to start. So it kind of takes that part of the process out for you and does a lot of the heavy lifting, and then it's just you going back in and adding that human touch.
So far, what we've shown is, and we didn't get into granular level detail, but this is where you backed up, is that you go into you go into Claude Design, you have to build out the design system.
Mhm.
We have three design systems built out: main brand, CMMC, and co-managed, with different colors, different fonts, different logos. And you showed us that it was pretty verbose, actually. There's a lot of instructions in there.
Yeah.
You also said that was like a skill, similar to a skill in Claude Chat or Claude Project or Claude Code. Um, and then you did your simple prompt, and you showed that. Does it always come back and ask you questions?
I I don't think I have had any case where it hasn't had some sort of question from the prompt. I think the prompt would have to be pretty extensive for it to not have if to for you to have answered everything it needed. Um yeah. So it typically will ask you something. And I have some other examples of some of the things. I mean, we've done this is like a testimonial widget, and you can see I had it create a testimonial widget from our main website. I gave it the website, and it kind of came back with like fresh design options. And right under this on the left-hand side, you can see I answered some of the questions it had. And that's where it comes up with the design.
So then you answer these questions and it comes up with the design. Do you iterate inside of Claude Design, or do you go back over to Claude Chat?
A lot of times I do. So I can tell it, um, if I didn't want this particular text in teal right here, or I wanted to include our logo somewhere on there, you can talk to it just like a regular AI and iterate on your design right in here. You can also take the files from this and export them and bring them into things like Canva or Photoshop and do your own design variations that way. So I've done both. It just depends on what I'm working on.
Was there was there another example that I cut you off from that you wanted to show?
Let's see. I think the other one I wanted to point out is it also does um homepage, or excuse me, landing pages. That was another one we've done through here. So this is another, this one in particular is for CMMC again, but this was oh, this one is not going to pull up. Let me do my other one instead. Sorry. We'll do our buyer's guide one. So this is a landing page we worked on for our buyer's guide. And I think what we did for this one is we fed it information about our current landing page. We have a buyer's guide on our website that people can go and download. We had it look through the actual PDF. So we gave it the buyer's guide PDF and had it pull specific things from that PDF. And we had it generate a new landing page for us to use. And this is, you can actually interact with it like a web page. So yeah, it was a great starting point. Looking at it now, I can see things that we ended up changing for our main site. We don't actually have this ported directly to WordPress. We took this as kind of like a design board, and then we recreated in WordPress, but it gave us a really strong starting place.
Do you ever just port it right to WordPress? Have you ever been successful in that, or you don't?
We have not. I'm not sure how the connection is for that. We use WordPress, and on top of that, we use Elementor. I would be surprised if it doesn't have some sort of API
Well,
that
what's your rationale for not doing it that way?
we don't have an API set up for it, so we haven't gone that process yet. This was a fairly new thing that we are diving
But
into.
I mean, you're not, are you for or against it, or
I'm not. I'm neither. I would be more for it because I think it would save even more time. So.
but you could still have the human in the loop in that scenario, right?
Yes, yeah. Even if you brought this directly into WordPress, you would want to have the human in the loop to look everything over before you published it. I wouldn't want this to take whatever it generates and publish it right away.
So when the team's working on things, do you create content within Claude Design?
I tend to go into regular Claude to create the content. I just think, at least in my experience, I've had better luck talking back and forth with the regular Claude versus having design do the heavy lift for copy in particular. And you can set it in here to use the different models of Claude. So theoretically, it should work very similar, but I'm just more used to the other interface and using Cowork.
The way I do it is I do all building inside of Claude Cowork.
Yeah.
And then when I want the design, that's when I bring it over to Claude Design. We have a
Yeah, that's
skill
perfect.
built out in Claude Cowork called brand design, which does a pretty good job, I'd say. But often, if you use that skill, the logo might be tweaked in some way that doesn't pass our brand promise. Like the color may be skewed or something like that. But I just do all the creation over in Claude Cowork, and then my final step is Claude Design. So I don't create any kind of content in Claude Design. That's what I found is most effective. Um, that said, I have done some things where I've brought it over and it asks me questions, and actually, so I bring it from Claude Cowork to Claude Design. It asks me some questions. I answer the questions, and it does actually recommend some text changes, not just conceptual or design changes. And I have used them, but
Yeah.
that's just generally not the process that I follow. Were you going to share something else here?
No, I was just going to share because you were talking about the skill, the brand skill, but I would say that just the brand skill might cover things like the corner motif or logo, whereas this you can get into full color schemes, telling it when and where to use certain colors, um, status colors. So it's like a skill in Claude, but just way more advanced.
It's much more granular and detailed than the skill we have built out. So we build
Yes.
them over
Yeah.
there. But generally speaking, I build in Claude Cowork. I let it do the design, which is the hard part for me, is making stuff look good. So that's why I like it. What what about ROI, like time, quality? What can you tell us about that?
Um, Well, I mentioned before, I mean, this, and you kind of answered that a little bit on yourself, but before the process without Claude Design in the middle would be, it might be someone on the sales team and they have to work on a, we'll say, proposal or a specific document needed to send something to a prospect. So that might make you might have to go through the process of creating the copy for that, sending a request over to the marketing team, depending on what time of day or how many other requests are in the queue, depends on when we can kind of get to that. And then we'll have to go through a proofing process of sending it back to you. Is this what you're looking for? Um, Cloud Design kind of takes a lot of that in between out. So I can set up the design system for you to just throw stuff in directly and talk to it and kind of generate, I'd say, a 90 to 95% done document. And you could just kind of send it back to us and say, does this look good? Um, I apologize. My cat is in the picture, but yeah. So you can send it back to us and kind of just for
Does your cat
final.
know we're live?
I think she does, and that is why she's up here, which she normally never is.
Or your cat interrupted, Britt? Did you have
Yes.
anything else to say on
that,
that?
that was the main gist of it. I mean, it takes out that back and forth and kind of the time crunch of just not having enough hands and not having enough people to kind of queue up the project and gets you I mean, like I said, a really strong starting place.
All right. So that said, raise your hand if you love Claude Design for sales and marketing.
I mean, I love it.
Okay. So
It's
that said, we're big fans, and we use Microsoft and ChatGPT for certain things in our organization as well. But for sales and marketing, we're sort of right now on Claude. But that said, Britt, um, any limits, any kind of gotchas out there that you see that you've
um
seen?
I think the you and I ran into this pretty early on, but just be careful what model you're in when you're working on things. Like I
That's
said,
a great point.
yeah, it does have access to all of the different models that the regular Claude does. And if you're working on less complex tasks, but you have it in Opus, you can quickly run through your credits from experience. So you want to make sure you're using it for the right tasks. And that's why I tend to do a lot in Cowork and then bring in for the design part in Claude Design.
What about where you might recommend people start?
Um, Start with making your design system.
Well, I mean, start in terms of, yeah, I mean, definitely start within, you got to make your design system, otherwise there's nothing to do. But like what kind of project is or what kind of task is a good thing to start with, maybe?
Social media assets are really great because you can take, even if you already have one social asset or idea or picture, you can pump it into Claude Design and say, design this for LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And it can take that and just readjust the sizes and formats and everything you need very quickly. So social campaigns, blog posts, like small graphics like that is a great place to kind of start and just feel out the system. Um, I use it a lot for more complex things now, so I really like it for landing page designs. Um, it's great with different PowerPoints or big projects like proposals, but yeah, just start small and throw some ideas into the system and just kind of get a feel for what it asks and how it generates.
So, Britt, question came in. GitHub. Do we have it connected to GitHub, or like how do you store the logos?
You don't need to connect it to GitHub. That is an option for you to drop in the logos into the design system, but you can actually just drag and drop your files. So similar to how you would use Claude Cowork and you might give it a PDF and say, read this PDF. You can drag and drop any logo files. We also did all the font files for our custom font for our brand. And then we had some pre-built templates that I actually had Claude Cowork help me clean up and make sure there was no conflicts between them. And then I took that and I put it into the design system and created templates. So we have, like I said, we have documents, letterheads, PowerPoints, and things like that.
Cool. Well, Britt, thanks so much for sharing your expertise here. Just to sort of summarize, or not to summarize, but to share, we use Claude Design, Claude Cowork on the sales and marketing team. We love it. It hasn't displaced anyone. It's just made Brittany, Caden, and Haley far more productive and much, much faster. I call it Caden times four, is
It
what I
is,
say.
yeah.
Um, but it's fantastic, especially the design system that when I create something or somebody else in our organization creates something, that they can put it into Claude Design and we know that the brand promise is going to be fulfilled. They're not going to be going out with the wrong color logo or the wrong font or something like that. So it's really helped us. In some ways, it actually takes longer because you start to iterate on things. You're like, oh, well, you could just change that, and it's like you have your own personal graphic designer sitting next to you making changes as you're requesting them.
Yeah.
Any last words of advice, Britt, before we sign off?
Um, I I I mean you covered a lot of it. It doesn't replace anyone. It's a really great starting place to get over that like writer's block or just get an idea out and see what comes back at you. It's I think it's very powerful for teams, so I don't have to create and babysit everything. I can kind of give people the design system and say, here's our brand promise, and then take final looks at the assets that are created. So yeah, it's been really, I've really enjoyed it. It's coming out with a lot of updates, so I'm in it pretty much every day, creating things.
Yeah, all day. I mean, the, what's interesting is, do you use it for our quarterly marketing report, sales and
I
marketing report?
do. Yes, yeah. So I have used it for we do like quarterly a KPI review and that's in PowerPoint. So I have used Claude Cowork, the plugin for Claude to PowerPoint, and then I've also put some stuff in here to create some PowerPoints. So yes.
Yeah, so it really improved the output there.
Yes. Yeah, it
Great.
did.
All right, well, folks, we're gonna this is recorded. We'll send it out with any other materials that are appropriate to send out with this recording. Britt, thanks so much. Feel free to check out our website at tiltech.com. We're going to do more of these marketing videos. I think this is our second marketing one, Britt.
I
Am
think
I
so.
right with
Yeah,
that?
this is our second design one
Second
or
design
Claude.
one or second Claude one?
Second Claude one.
Second Claude one. This one's specific on Claude design because we love Claude design. So thanks, folks, for joining us. Check out our website. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brittany and I. We love talking shop. We love talking sales and marketing. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.